Hello and welcome to the Waste of Web Space podcast, episode 63.
Starring
Jimbo
and Fisher.
And we have entitled this podcast, Don't Go Breaking the Lockdown, But Do. Are you ready for your song?
Go on then, Jimbo.
Don't go back into work, but if you can and do, go outside if you get restless. In fact, no, stay inside. Ooh, nobody knows it. Nobody knows what the hell to do. Boris ain't got a clue. Oh, oh. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what the hell to do. Boris ain't got a clue. Oh, better stay alert. So there you go. Obviously, you last week when we started this podcast and I was trying to dress as Dame Edna Everage, you said I looked like Elton John. So yep. I've actually tried to come as Elton John this time. Have I come looking like somebody else this time?
You look like Dame Edna Everage. You do look, I suppose. I'm not too sure about the hair, although you are wearing a wig, which probably is, very Elton John-like, I would say.
Yep.
The interesting thing is that I can actually see your screen quite clearly in your glasses now, so I can see myself fairly clearly. I'm not sure what you'd look like if you were to take the glasses off.
Well, to be honest,
I suspect you probably look a bit more like Jerry Halliwell with that wig.
Well, this is the thing. This is a wig from a Jerry Halliwell set. Right, I've never dressed as Jerry Halliwell, by the way.
So why have you got the clothes in for it?
I've just borrowed the wig from it. That's all.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not going to keep it on all the way through. So anyway, that's why we've done that, because obviously all around the messaging about the new messaging around COVID-19 and the sort of the government messaging being a little bit unclear for some people's liking, isn't it? And I think we made a few references to this, didn't we, on our Twitter account last Sunday?
I think we did actually. Yeah, we tried to do some Twitter jokes, didn't we? Now, obviously, helpfully, you've not really brought this to my attention before just now, so I need to try and remember what it was that I tweeted.
We did our road stay alert signs, didn't we?
Yes, we did some great guidance that were heads, shoulders, knees, and toes. Just in case you're struggling with that particular song. Obviously, I think that is quite important. Obviously, we made some kind of reference to if you're very bored and fed up at home, then the result of what you should be doing is listening to the Waste of Web Space podcast.
Of course.
What better advice could you ever have?
So, so that's the title of our podcast, Don't Go Breaking the Lockdown, But Do. And that was sang by Elton Johnson. You like that? Actually, you should have called him...
Now I think about it, might have been better to call him Eaton Johnson.
That's pretty good as well. Anyway, so should we get on with the rest of the podcast?
Yes, let's get going.
I thought I'd like to do a few shout-outs before we get started in this episode. So we've had some, we've had some good sort of responses over the last few weeks or so, haven't we? Have you noticed that?
Well, people are very bored, Jimbo.
Yeah.
But there is so little else to do.
Which is bad, isn't it? Where we're filling people's time. That's how bored people actually are. But a shout out to the people who are either responding to our posts on Facebook or liking our accounts. So just a couple I want to mention. It's a couple of people from our old school, isn't it, as well, Fisher? So let's give a shout out to Cassandra Brown. I did mention her last week, actually, but it wasn't an official shout out. So she gets an official shout out this week. And she shared it for us, I think, as well. And yeah, there we go. And also Luke Fernley. Do you remember Luke Fernley?
I remember Luke Fernley, yeah.
Yep. So Luke Fernley has liked our Instagram account and possibly Twitter account as well. He's a big Sheffield Wednesday fan. So, and you know what? He's one of those... He must have been so handy in any sort of quiz over the lockdown that's got anything to do with Sheffield Wednesday and attendances and games and what happened at those games. Because I remember when I was at school with Luke, you could ask him about the attendance at a game and he could give you more or less the exact number.
It'd be a very niche skill to have, though, isn't it? I mean, how many pub quizzes have you ever been in that said, what was the attendance between Sheffield Wednesday and Brighton Hove Albion on the 4th of August, 2017.
But those people who are Sheffield Wednesday fans who get together to do it for a specific reason of doing a Sheffield Wednesday pub quiz or something, is very useful in that situation. Now, I do remember that, although this was at a time at school when we were probably, about 12, 13, that used to pluck these numbers out of thin air, I do remember not having Google back then, or a phone that could just Google the answer. So I think we also at the same time had to just take his word for it. But I did have football programmes, and I remember testing him out, and he could get the numbers more or less exactly right. So that was a talent. Anyway, so there you go. There's a shout out for Cassandra Brown. And Cassandra Brown, I don't believe she's got any particular skills with naming football attendances, but I'm sure she's got plenty of other skills. And Luke Fernley, who has got football attendance relating to Sheffield Wednesday skills.
Yeah, I mean, I got one message from a listener this week, which was from Steve, I mentioned on the last episode. He just messaged me saying, do some proper research.
Why is that? Is that because of the Aston Villa thing, the football mascot thing?
Possibly. I didn't really want to delve into it because, let's be honest, there's that many bits of poor research that we've either done or not done.
Oh, when I nearly killed somebody?
Yeah, I didn't want to kind of open that Pandora's box. I think part of the thing was, I think one of his questions was to do with how the mascot for Aston Villa got involved in the sort of, with him being sacked. Was it doing things against a goalpost or miss Aston Villa and all that sort of stuff? So I think I got that wrong last time. One thing that did interest me, actually, in terms of people we used to go to school with, is a photo that I saw a few weeks ago in the Sheffield Star. Now, I don't know if you know that this week is National Mental Health Week. And obviously, a lot of people, particularly at this point in time, struggle with their mental health, which is very understandable, particularly given the current circumstances. And do you know what the theme is for this National Mental Health Week? The theme is kindness.
Oh, right, okay.
Be kind to each other.
Yeah.
And my attention was attracted by a photo that admittedly did come up a couple of weeks ago by some people who were formerly attendants at our school. I don't know if you can see that on the photo.
I can see that.
And it's got a few people who basically have been involved, presumably in the school science club. I don't know if you saw the caption on it there as well.
Yeah.
It's got these kids, a few people who we know. I'll not mention the names, but they've got the goggles on. To be fair, very early PPE. That I would say this is probably taken 15 years ago.
Did you ever? Would you own up to ever actually taking any goggles home?
I never took any goggles home. I've got my own goggles nowadays.
I've never owned up to it, but
yeah, just in case. But the caption to the photo. Do you know what it says? In this world where we need to be kind to each other.
Go on.
Science boffins. It's simply the only word it says underneath that.
Are you just jealous because you wasn't in that photograph and you would have loved to have been a science boffin?
No, I'm more than happy not being in that photograph. I was thinking, why aren't they saying hard-working students who are doing very well at school and being successful and taking their academic studies seriously? No, science boffins. We'll have that. There we go.
So I believe it's time for our drinks, Fisher. So are we good to go with that? Now this might be a struggle for me this week because I have got a touch of laryngitis, I think, from doing quite a lot of recording with radio, my own training stuff for my little business that I have in my spare time.
What business is that, Jimbo?
That's Be Presentable and the Greatest PowerPoint Showman. PowerPoint training available, full or half days, at a very affordable price. But anyway, we don't mention that very often. No. Not as much as we used to do the old radio show.
I was going to say, aren't you still doing your radio show again?
I am, yeah. I'm doing every Friday and Sunday at the minute. 2 well 4 on a Friday and 10 well 12 on a Sunday, just during the lockdown period. On Penistone FM. 95.7, yeah. But anyway, it's time for his drink. So this might be a bit of a struggle for me today. What have you got?
I've got some... I think I've had this before, probably on a couple of occasions. Badger Brewery Fusty Ferret.
Is it not Thirsty Ferret?
That's a good point, actually. Thirsty Ferret. Have I never noticed that?
Fusty Ferret. That sounds like the way you might describe a lady you meet in Benidorm.
Yes, it's been put out to dry. It's been put on the air, but not dried properly. So it smells a bit fusty. I mean, I must have had this drink about 3 or 4 times, and never cottoned on to the word, yeah, I've seen it before where it says that it doesn't really matter in which way you get the letters in the middle of the word, as long as you get the first one right and the last one right, then you're pretty much all right, and you can unjumble it yourself. But yeah, because thirsty is spelled TH, I've just never really picked up on the fact it's called thirsty ferret and not fusty ferret.
Well, there you go.
It does make a lot more sense, obviously.
So my beer then, you've had a few of those beers before, haven't you, as well?
Well, no, as it turns out, I've had a completely different one, but yes.
So for me then, mine is for another shout out. I've just started a new job as well today, working as a learning technologist for the university where I work. But previous to that, I worked in a different team, and somebody I work with called Lewis Parker, who was a Sheffield United fan. But, you know, that is the worst thing about him, to be fair.
Does he know the attendance of all the Sheffield United games?
I bet he doesn't.
No.
Not a proper fan, clearly. But anyway, he gave me something to try, and it's this. It's Push Pineapple.
Right.
There's not the rest of the, Push Pineapple Apple Pen. It's not one of those from that song a few years ago that annoyed everyone. But no, this is Push Pineapple Milkshake IPA. So this could be very interesting. It's a India Pale Ale, and it's brewed in Warwickshire. There you go.
Okay.
So that's what I've got. But a big thanks to Lewis Parker for providing me with this. I think he's vegan, so I think the reason that I've got it is that he can't have it because he's vegan, and he's looked at the ingredients, and it's well, if it's milkshake, I don't know whether that means it's got milk in it. I'm not sure, but anyway, so
is this some kind of leaving present, so to speak, or
no? He just gave it me. Just said he's got it.
Right.
Do you want it? And I said, oh well, that's great. I could have it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So like to try something new
Enjoy.
every week. Oops, we've got so
have we got a frother?
We have. Oh, just smell of it a bit strange, but yeah, we'll give it a go. Okay.
Okay. Well, cheers, Jimbo.
Cheers. Thank you. So, it's your show and tell this week, isn't it, Fisher?
Yeah. I could show and tell the quite simply enormous head on this beer that I've poured, but never mind. So it's my show and tell, and obviously you may notice that I'm wearing some interesting attire. I'm dressed. You're
wearing attire?
Might as well be. So I've got this hat on, which is obviously, it's not just to kind of try and keep my hair in check. It's also just part of the look of a golfer. And I'm not playing much golf at the moment. But, I'm not missing it too much. And obviously, because of the lockdown, it means that I might be back playing golf soon. But my show and tell item is...
Can I just say, talking about hair before you move on, I've just seen Fernando Forestieri, Sheffield Wednesday player. I'm not sure if he's a listener or not. I don't think so. I don't think he'd be able to keep up with our lingo because he's Italian-Argentinian, I think. So not sure he'd keep up with our language. But anyway, I've just seen him playing, just having a bit of a kick around with his kid on the park, not too far from here. And he's had his hair cut. He's definitely had his hair cut. So where's that being done? Because we're struggling, aren't we? Ours is getting out of control.
Might have got a pair of clippers. If he hadn't have had it cut, they could have called him Fernando Forestieri Hairy.
Exactly. That was actually my football team name, my fantasy football team name once. All right. There we go.
Fair enough. So anyway, this is the show and tell item. It's my golf shoes, and it turns out actually a fairly mucky pair of golf shoes that I should have really cleaned after the last time I wore them, but not so. I'll pop those back down. But effectively, they're very much a pair of standard golf shoes made by FootJoy, I think, who are a well-known manufacturer of golf shoes. And the story really relates to the first occasion on which I wore these. And the year was 2012, I think. Yes, I'm fairly sure it was 2012. And I was on a golf day at a nearby golf course around here. I think it was Sitwell Park, which is out towards sort of Whiston, Wickersley kind of area, if you're aware of where that is, Jimbo. And it refers to, first time I wore them, what happened on this golf day of note. Is it that I was playing in the golf day and playing in the first... Have you ever played golf, by the way, Jimbo?
I've done a bit of crazy golf and a bit of pitch and putt. No.
But
I've been to the driving range a few times and had a go at that, just for laugh.
How did it go?
Not too well. I seemed to be hitting it further when I had no technique, and then as soon as the person who was running the sort of driving range came over and gave you some tips. I just couldn't hit it anywhere. So if I'd have carried on hitting it the way I wanted to hit it, I might have had a really bad back for quite a few years ahead of me, but at least I would have hit my golf ball further.
Well, yes, yeah. So it involves the first time I wore these golf shoes. And which of these two things happened? Was it I was playing golf in the golf day and playing in the first group to leave? So when you're playing in a golf day, you've maybe got 16 people, 20 people, and you're playing 4 or 5 groups of 4, something like that. Depends how many people you've got, obviously.
Just to give each other a head start sort of thing.
Well, obviously, the first lot tee off from the first hole, and then the second lot tee off from the first hole after the first lot have gone, kind of thing. So, obviously, you can't... You all start at the first hole, and you've got to wait for the first group to play first, and the second group plays, and all that sort of stuff. So, I was playing in a golf day, and playing in the first group to leave. My tee shot on the first hole hit a tree and bounced back to me in front of a crowd of around 16 people. It is the most embarrassing moment of my golf career. So, we'll come to the questions shortly, but that was scenario 1. Had a golf day, went up to the tee box in front of everyone I was playing in the day. First shot, hit a tree, and it kind of bounced back to me and landed sort of just in front of where I was stood. Second scenario, I was playing in this golf day, and the golf day was ultimately won by a man who only had one leg.
Right, okay. I'm going to quiz you on both of them then. First of all, number 1, you say that this golf day was being held in 2012. You think it was around that sort of time?
I think it was February 2012. Yeah.
You can't have been playing golf too long at that stage, or when did you start playing? Do you think?
I first started playing. I first learned how to play golf, and in terms of doing a golf swing and all that sort of stuff, probably at the age of about 4 or 5 years old.
All right, okay.
So I've played since a very young age with actual golf club and balls. I've never, and I always, as a young kid, played on pitch and putts and that sort of stuff when I was on holiday. When I was about sort of maybe 19 years old, I then started going out and actually playing around golf courses. And I'm generally, for someone who doesn't play a huge amount of golf, which I will play literally 2 or 3 times a year now, I'm probably quite a reasonable player for someone who's not played a huge amount. If that makes sense.
Here we go.
It's just something I can do quite easily.
Send your tweet us if you want to take Fisher on at a round of golf. We can do that now, apparently. Get in touch. So 2012 that was, and it was the most...
Don't get in touch. We're not allowed to do that.
It was the most embarrassing moment of your golf history. Actually, I don't believe between then and 2012 and now that there's not been anything else more embarrassing happen to you.
I've played worse shots. Don't get me wrong.
But it's just
this was on a golf day in front of everyone else playing in the tournament. I say there was about... I don't know exactly how many were there, but there were definitely 5 groups, and I was in the first of 5. So there was between 16 and 20 people. Our group was going off first. Actually, I was in a group of 4, so it must have been 20 because you send your 4-ball out.
Okay.
We send your 4-ball out, yeah. So otherwise, you have your 4-ball at the back. So it must have been in front of 20 people.
Where was the golf course?
Sitwell Park. Which is towards kind of Whiston Wickersley sort of area.
Yeah, and is that the same for both examples you've given me for both possible reasons?
Yeah, same golf day. Well, obviously, aside from the fact one of them didn't happen, but yeah.
Okay.
It was the first time I wore these golf shoes, and the first time I wore those golf shoes was at that golf day in Sitwell Park.
So
I also quite badly blistered my feet, I would hasten to add.
So the bloke who the other reason was that somebody won the golf day who only had one leg.
He only had one leg, yeah.
That must be quite difficult because you need your legs to sort of, especially when you're hitting something at quite a pace and with quite a lot of strength. It must be difficult because it's part of your balance, isn't it? So
yeah. Well, we said to him at the start of the day, "What's your handicap?" And he said, "I've only got one leg."
Right.
Sorry. Obviously, when you're playing golf, you refer to yourself as having a handicap, which I play off 18 nowadays. And he said his handicap was that he'd only got one leg. Mm. So he'd obviously got an artificial leg. Did
he have one of those pairs of trousers that only had a hole in one of the legs?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's poor, but anyway.
Yeah. Obviously, he got an artificial leg.
Yeah,
on his other foot.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Sorry, on his.
Okay. Well, there's no reason why somebody with one leg can't be really good at the game of golf, because
No, absolutely not.
you see. I don't know whether I don't know whether they have a set. Like they have the Paralympics and so on. Do they have a separate thing for golf, or is it kind of isn't the one separate for golf? Is it all kind of together? Do they have a separate one? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm fairly sure that I know of someone who is a very good blind golfer.
Yeah.
And obviously has to have someone telling him where to hit it. And he also kind of walks from the hole to where his ball is when he's on the greens to make sure that he can understand sort of the contours and kind of whether he's going uphill, downhill, and all that sort of stuff. And obviously someone has to kind of spot him and tell him where he should be hitting the ball and all that kind of thing, and what pace he needs to be hitting at. But it can obviously it's a very inclusive game and can be played by people.
Women and men in the professional game play together now, don't they as well?
Not very often. I don't think there aren't many mixed tournaments.
I'm sure I've seen that, but
there are still some golf clubs who don't accept female members. As a result of it, they've been banned from hosting certain international tournaments.
Fair play, yeah. So they should.
Sounds reasonable to me. I mean, I see no reason why you wouldn't have female members at a golf club.
No, or turn down members anyway. It's not good for business anyway, is it? But
it's all about being inclusive, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I think then I'm going to go with the second one because I want that one to be the answer, and I think it doesn't matter if you've got one leg. If you've been doing it for a long time and you've learned to play with your handicap, then yeah, I think that's possible. So let's go with that one.
Well, what I quite like about that is the fact that you want it not to be the fact that I got embarrassed in front of loads of other people. That's what means more to me.
Eva's a success for this, I think.
Yeah. Well, I can reveal that on the first occasion I wore these golf shoes, I lost to a man with one leg.
Yay! Did he play for a particular golf club, or do you remember?
I don't know. It wasn't actually in my little playing group. He did play in the same group as my dad. Battier was a very, very nice gentleman. I think he lived in the Midlands somewhere around Derby.
Your dad probably knew him from Schweppes.
No, it was the first time my dad had ever met him. It was just kind of one of the great things about when you go on these golf days is that you kind of end up playing with people who you don't necessarily know that well, and you may have met them for the first time. You get a chance to play golf with them for 4 hours, have a drink with them afterwards, and it's kind of all about being sociable, meeting new people, and playing with people for the first time. So I don't think I've ever met him before or since. But that was the occasion on that particular day.
Thank you for sure. Enjoyed that. The Waste of Web Space podcast. The best, worst, and only podcast in Chapeltown, we think. We've got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and a website, but nobody visits any of them. Okay, so I am going to do a little quiz now. So you remember last week I did some questions, didn't I, around freak incidents that celebrities have been involved in, didn't I?
Yeah.
And that came off the back of something we did in the episode before that. So I thought that, and I also mentioned last week that I could have done lots involving footballers because there's a lot more that could warrant a full, not just one quiz, but I could have made 2 quizzes out of this football one. So I might return to this at some stage as well. So you could see this as part 1 for now. So I've got a quiz about football, weird, strange and freak football injuries that have ruled footballers out of games and so on. Okay. You might remember one of the questions last week was about Richard Wright, who both fell through his loft ceiling and he fell over a sign saying, "Please do not play football
don't
here."
Practice here.
Yeah, don't practice here. So I've got some questions for you. Now, there's 10 altogether. And if you remember last week, one of them, both of the potential answers was correct, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And I've got one of those in this group of 10 as well. So what I'm going to do is let you have all of the questions, and then when we've done them all, you can decide which of the 10 questions you think, if you can try and cast your mind back, which of the 10 was the one that potentially both happened to that particular player. Is that all right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, no problem. Is the one where one of the players only had one leg and yet was still a very good footballer? Is that going to be one of the questions?
No, unfortunately not. Anyway, so number 1 then is Rio Ferdinand. Okay, obviously he was always good at getting in the news, weren't he? For when he was doing his football career. I did see something this week actually about something that Gaza had said. About something, Alex Ferguson had said something about him saying, if he'd have come to play for us, Gaza wouldn't have had half of his problems. And Gaza's response was something, well, Rio Ferdinand did a runner from a drugs test. Wayne Rooney was allegedly going with grannies. And there was something else as well, wasn't there? But I can't remember what it was. But so Gaza kind of had a funny response to that anyway. Oh, and Ryan Giggs went off with his his brother's wife, which I thought was funny anyway. But anyway, Rio Ferdinand. So while he was at Leeds United, though, he ended up injured when he did what? Did he A, was pulled over by his dog while walking and falling down a muddy banking and twisting his ankle? Or B, was he sat with his foot up on a coffee table for a number of hours and ended up injuring a tendon?
Walking his dog. I mean, do you think professional footballers are allowed to walk dogs? I suppose this was probably maybe 15, 20 years ago. Probably early 2000s, I'm guessing, when he was at Leeds United.
I'm sure they were allowed to walk the dogs.
Oh, I know they're allowed.
Oh, right.
But just do they? I mean...
Oh, do they walk their own dogs?
Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
What I'm saying is, would they not have someone else walking it for him?
Well, I've just seen Fernando Forestieri playing with his own child. So, on the field. It'd
be a bit of a story if he was playing with someone else's child, obviously. But... yeah, obviously that's parenting, isn't it? But yeah, I'm just wondering if a lot of celebrities, bear in mind Rio Ferdinand, when he was at Leeds United, Leeds were probably at that time Champions League semi-finalists and doing really well before it all went wrong for him. Not that that's amusing, obviously. I think footballers have got that kind of reputation of being lazy, haven't they? So could he feasibly have been sat with his legs on a coffee table and injured himself? I think it's surely an ultimate footballer's dream, that, isn't it? So I'm going to say he had his feet on the coffee table and injured a tendon.
Well done, yeah. Injured a tendon from having his... I mean, we've kind of all done that before. Have you ever had your foot up in a certain position for too long and then realised, I can't move it? I mean, not to the extreme of actually injuring it properly, but yeah, that's something... I can imagine, whoever was manager at the time might not have been too happy about that. But anyway, next then. We're going to have a bit of a run of goalkeepers now, by the way, because goalkeepers seem to be in this quite a lot. So adding on to Richard Wright last week that we talked about, goalkeepers seem to be up there in terms of how many injuries freak injuries as well, they seem to pick up. So, Dave Besant.
Not him again.
We brought him up before, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
So I'm hoping we haven't asked this question before, but Dave Besant then, and we brought him up before because we said that I think he either bought the house that my gran sold in London, so my gran moved up from London with my dad and my uncle and all that back years ago, near Wembley Stadium they used to live, so Kingsbury I think it was, and he bought their house off them. But Dave Besant anyway, this is the story. Which of these is the correct answer then, okay? Which one did he do? So, he ruled himself out for 8 weeks when he did what? He A, got a groin strain, straight from getting out of a taxi to attend a dinner where he was guest speaker. Or B, he dropped a bottle of salad cream on his toe, severing a tendon in his big toe.
I don't know if we had this question before around this stuff. I don't know if we found this out when we were talking about Dave Besant. And do you think he'd be a guest speaker at an event anyway? I don't know. I think it's the bottle of salad cream that rings a bell from somewhere, and he smashed that on his foot.
Well done. Yeah, I did wonder whether we'd had that one before because it seemed to ring a bell, but I didn't want to leave it out. Next then, another goalkeeper, David James, obviously known as Calamity James, so bound to have had a couple of incidents here. Goalkeeper David James was ruled out with injury when A, he pulled a muscle in his back, reaching for his remote control at home. Maybe he was sat with Rio at the time. Or B, a keen angler, he tweaked his shoulder trying to land a big carp.
It was definitely trying to land a big carp, was it? I think that, whilst I'm drinking my Fusty Ferret, I think, what would you, just a little known fact actually, by the way, if you're getting involved in some of these Zoom quizzes, if the question gets asked, which Premier League goalkeeper is the most capped in the Premier League, the answer is David James.
Is it?
You know, it is, yeah.
Oh, capped for England, you mean?
No, the most Premier League appearances.
I thought it was Mark Schwarzer. I think it's Mark
David
Schwarzer. You're going to have to check this out. Do your research. It's Mark Schwarzer.
I'm saying David James.
I'm saying Mark Schwarzer.
Who do you think it is for outfield players?
We're going to have to check this. At the end of the quiz, we're going to check.
I think for outfield players, Gareth Barry, and goalkeepers, David James. What's your answer for outfield players?
I don't know for outfield, to be honest, but I would say Ryan Giggs. But if I was going to go for a different one to you, it'd have to be Ryan Giggs. But I'd take your word for it that it could be Gareth Barry. But I'm sure it's Mark Schwarzer for a goalkeeper.
All right, well, we'll see if we can find out sort of during a break in the podcast. Not that we actually have any, but anyway, the question. What was the question again? We've drifted off that much. It was either picking up a remote or it was fishing and tweaked his shoulder to try and land a massive carp, as you said. I think he might have injured his shoulder to try and get the remote control.
Congratulations, well done. Next then, Alex Stepney, who I have actually seen once before. I've seen him at an after-dinner speaker sort of thing. So Alex Stepney, if you weren't aware, he's a former Manchester United goalkeeper. In 1975, what did he do? A, dislocated his jaw while shouting at his defenders during a match, or B, slipped in petrol at a service station while on his way to a game, pulling a muscle in the process.
Well, both fairly feasible. I suppose, obviously, you watched him at an afternoon speech, which obviously went badly because he injured himself getting out of the taxi when he was going to do the speech. Is that right? I think that. Can you shout that loud that you can dislocate your jaw?
See, I didn't know this. I mean, I've shouted loud in the past, but I've never dislocated my jaw from it.
Goalkeepers can shout very loudly. I don't think there would be any other football players who would kind of be in that situation, but I think a goalkeeper could. So I think he dislocated his jaw shouting so loud. 4 out of 4.
You're doing very well this week, considering your poor performance last week. Next, then.
I was appalling last week, weren't I?
Steve Morrow, former Northern Ireland defender, did what while at Arsenal? So, A, he broke his collarbone falling off the shoulders of Tony Adams while celebrating after beating Sheffield Wednesday in the League Cup final 1993. See why I had to put this one in. Although, did I have to when we lost? I don't know. Anyway, B, was ruled out of a game after he and his wife got into an altercation with each other, resulting in being kicked in the testicles.
Now, obviously, you put that one in just to try and get a cheap laugh, potentially, but who knows? Obviously, you could, if you were to beat Sheffield Wednesday Cup final, you would be celebrating that fact because not only have you won a cup final, but you've beaten, obviously, the greatest team in the country, which is good. So congratulations to Arsenal on that very lucky victory. So he fought off Tony Adams' shoulders, or did he get kicked in the testicles by his wife? What was his name? Sam Morrow?
It's Steve Morrow, I think.
Steve Morrow. Okay.
Steve Morrow? Yeah.
Tom's brother. I think he might have been kicked in the testicles by his wife.
You're incorrect, so your first one wrong. No, he actually did fall off the shoulders of Tony Adams. He got it on camera as well. So he actually scored in that game. So, and I think it was he was one of those defenders that rarely got forward. So for him to score and be part of the the sort of the scorers who obviously helped to beat Sheffield Wednesday that day. Tony Adams picked him up and dropped him, and he couldn't even go up to collect the trophy and do all that kind of thing. Tony Adams did. Tony Adams still went up and went to get a trophy and celebrated. And then he was in the papers a few days after with it, Tony Adams going to visit him in hospital when he was having his shoulder pinned back together or whatever. So there you go. Next then. Svein Grodeland, Norway defender, international defender, had to withdraw from an international when A, he locked himself in his car on his drive As he was about to leave for the airport, a faulty lock was blamed. Or B, he collided with a moose while out jogging.
I think it's quite unlikely that you get yourself locked in the car, because surely you'd be able to get out. I mean, it's not that hard, is it?
But the reason was that he blamed a faulty lock, so they already had issues with locks. And bearing in mind that it was potentially quite a while ago, before auto locking and stuff like that. If you had a sticky lock, you were stuck. And if there was nobody else to access the door from the outside,
well, obviously, I mean, it's called a sticky lock because you would be stuck, wouldn't you? That's the whole point of it. I think that. Did you get moose in Norway? Well, obviously, it's not to say it definitely happened in Norway.
Well, if it was a Brazilian, I probably wouldn't have chosen a moose.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have some type of moose.
I think he might have got himself stuck in his car by accident.
Wrong. So yeah, he did get into an altercation with a moose and then was ruled out of an international game. Next then, David Battier. After recovering from an Achilles injury, he managed to re-injure himself when what happened? A, he was run over by his toddler on a tricycle, or B, he lost at pool to fellow Leeds player Gary McAllister and angrily stamped his foot on the ground, causing a reoccurrence of the injury. Nobody wants to lose at pool, though, do they?
Yeah, so the sports people take it serious, though. Yeah. Whatever, why.
Is that how you reacted when you lost to the man with one leg at golf?
Yeah, I was fairly relaxed about it. The best person won on the day. There's nothing wrong with that. Well done to him. I don't know what he won. I think he probably just won some golf balls and a few quid, maybe. Good days out, mind you, when we go on the golf days, what I can say. But I remember hearing about David Battier injuring himself again in some freak accident, but I can't remember what it was. I think that he got run over by his toddler.
Well done. There's a couple of incidents, actually. So, Kevin Kyle, I'll use this one here. There's plenty of other ones I can use in future, but Kevin Kyle, who played for Sunderland, he was a striker, once had a jug of boiling hot water poured over his crotch by his toddler, or knocked over him by his toddler.
Why was his toddler carrying some boiling hot water?
Exactly.
Terrible parenting.
But yeah. So there's a few ones like that. Anyway, next, Alan Mullery, the England star, was ruled out of England's 1964 tour of South America after doing what? A, injuring his back while brushing his teeth, or B, falling into a rose bush at a family wedding while posing for photographs.
How would you injure your back brushing your teeth? I mean, how aggressively? I mean, does he only brush like once a week and he has to sort of do a very, very abrasive brush? If that's the case, he'd probably get slightly harder bristles on his brush instead. So it was that, or falling. I think falling into a bush is fairly understandable at a wedding. I mean, most people have had quite a bit to drink, so I'm guessing there was probably no exception. I don't know what weddings were like in the 1960s in terms of professional photographers and all that sort of stuff. So, but I think he could have fallen into a bush, a family wedding.
Nope. He did manage to injure himself while brushing his teeth, so he injured his back somehow while doing that. There you go. Very strange, I know. Very, very strange indeed. But anyway, next one then. Darius Vassell. While at Aston Villa, he missed several games due to what? A, getting his arm stuck in a baby gate. He ended up dislocating his shoulder, causing muscular injuries in the process of trying to free himself. Or B, drilling into his toe with a home power drill.
Well, obviously, if he did get stuck in the baby gate, he should have coated himself in a liquid, a sort of abrasive substance that would helpfully lubricate him, and he could have called himself Darius Vasselline.
Yeah, very good.
I wonder whether you put that in there intentionally just to try and get me to make that joke.
That is not the reason, no, actually. I'd never thought of that when I was doing the research.
So, I don't know if I vaguely remember hearing about him being involved in some bizarre injury involving a drill. Now, I don't know what... Sorry, what was the exit? It drilled into his toe, did you say?
Yep.
Which makes very little sense, but then at the same time, it probably wouldn't be a good question if it didn't make very little sense. And I do recall him having some kind of drill-related incident. So I think he might have, for some unknown reason, drilled into his toe.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, it's not even like he did it by accident. So he wasn't just, doing a bit of DIY and then just accidentally drilled too far and through his toe. He had a painful toe. I don't know whether it was like some sort of ingrowing toenail or something like that. And somehow he thought that drilling into his toe would remove some of the tension in his toe. So he did that and made it obviously a lot worse, and then it got infected. And yeah, there you go.
Well, to be fair, his problem was no longer the ingrown toenail, was it? It was just the fact he drilled a hole in his toe that was his problem.
So I think it did work. And then this is your last one. So, number 10. While playing for the Thorncliffe Colts during the glory years, dynamic midfielder Jimbo Wilmshurst was ruled out of a top-of-the-table clash with Winkerbank after Watts. And, by the way, this is why I have my Thorncliffe Colts badge on, which I found not too long ago. Founded in 1999. But what did I do that ruled me out of a top-of-the-table clash with Winkerbank? A, I pulled a muscle in my neck while tying my bootlaces in training the day before. It's weird because I've wrote this as it in the third person, so I'm having to change it because I'm talking about myself. It's a bit weird. Or B, falling down the banking at Thorncliffe playing fields in a training exercise, resulting in bruised ribs.
Right. So the training, I mean, obviously I can ask questions in this this example. So this fella who was only got one leg, who was playing golf. What happened? Oh, sorry, hang on, wrong time. The training exercise, was this some kind of army boot camp style training thing that you were doing, running up and down hills and? It's
something we did every week. So there's at Thorncliffe playing fields, and you'll probably been aware of it because you might have played cricket there before.
Yeah.
But it's got a raised banking near the pavilion. And one of the training routines was to run up and down that and then tig in the next person, and they had to run up and that was one of our training. It really worked the calves and obviously your hamstrings and stuff. So yeah,
but
it also wasn't the greatest surface to run up. It was very it was very, very bumpy and had holes in it, and it wasn't a smooth hill. Let's say that.
Okay. And obviously the other one, you tying your shoelaces and injured your neck, did you say?
Yeah.
Obviously a very common injury.
Pulled a muscle.
Right or left shoe? Or can you not remember?
I can't remember that detail. I'm sorry.
Okay. I think. I mean, it wasn't a very good player, Jimbo Wilmshurst, but and it was very bad from not having the substitute playing from that week. But it was. I think you might have injured yourself tying your shoelaces.
Do you remember that story, or is it just a guess?
I vaguely remember something about shoelace-related injury in your neck at some point.
So although I've been doing these freak football injuries, and like the one about David James reaching for his remote, or Alan Mullery brushing his teeth and pulling a muscle, I know it's so easy to do. All I was doing was tying my shoelaces, and I think somebody shouted at me. I turned one way too sharply. And, I pulled a muscle in my neck, and that was it. And I just couldn't move properly. And, it was horrible.
But had you warmed up properly?
Well, I'd already getting my boots on, weren't I? So I weren't quite at warm stage.
Had you not put some slip-ons on first, just to try and get into it, get into action, and then take those off, and then put your things in it after tie up, maybe?
There is some truth to the second one, actually. So we did do that exercise of running up and down the banking, but the manager... who was called Richard Bunyan, who's sadly no longer with us, but he was a great manager and just a great guy anyway. In terms of what he did for the lads who played in that team, and it was just a great time to be young and playing football together and all those kind of things. But Richard Bunyan was the one who brought us all together for that. He was a very lively character, but he was everybody loved him. He was brilliant. But Richard Bunyan did actually. He was trying to show everyone out. Don't do it like that, lads. And he were a bit cockney. I don't know if you can do that impression. Do you remember Richard Bunyan? Can you do an impression of him?
Hey, Richard Bunyan? Oh, yeah, it's good then, Richard Bunyan.
Yeah, a bit like that, yeah. But he was shouting at us, you don't do it like that. You do it like this, lads. And he ran up the hill as quick as he could, and then he started running back down. and he tumbled, and I think he actually broke a rib. But it's something that when we have a bit of a chat with the lads who played for Thorncliffe Colts at the time, we always talk about that incident because obviously it's quite a painful injury for him to have got, but it was just funny in the circumstances that he did it. So it's a nice, funny, and unusual memory about Richard Bunyan. But yeah, there you go. So that was a bit of a quiz about football injuries. Did you like that?
It was very good. And obviously, you know what Richard Bunyan's lasting impression is? Is that he was a person who started calling you Jimbo, wasn't he?
He was. That's it. Richard Bunyan gave him my name. How could I forget that? There was too many Jameses in the football team. So Richard Bunyan, I said, what do you want to be called? And I went, Jumbo, Jimmy, Willie, because my second name's Wilmshurst. Yeah. And he went, let's call you Jimbo. And it just stuck from there on. So yeah, I owe Richard Bunyan my name as well. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you forgot that. You forgot to ask the question about which one happened. To both of them were true, haven't you?
Yeah. So do you want to pick one of those out? Can you remember? Obviously, the ones that you got wrong, you might as well rule those ones out.
Well, yeah, Jimbo, I'm not thick. In spite of the evidence of the past 62 episodes, I think David James might have injured himself fishing as well as looking for the TV remote.
Well done, Fisher. Bonus points for you there. Congratulations. So, you've got your old CDs and DVDs off your hands. Sold them at a car boot sale or on Music Magpie. But what about those that are left? Don't be embarrassed. You know what we mean. Forrest Rump, Titanic, Shawshank Redemption, Shaving Ryan's Privates, Pulp Friction. Well, contact Porn Pigeon and we will pay you money to take them off your dirty hands, no matter what the condition. New, collector's condition, used, stuck together, or second hands. We understand you want them to go to a good home. You don't want to see chitty chitty gangbang in the bottom of your wheelie bin. No need for embarrassment, just send them to us. Once we've received them, our team of professionals will go through them each to quality check them, make sure they're all in hand. If so, we'll send you your dirty money the same day. Please note we do not accept Free Willy 1, 2, 3 or 4, Snatch or Fun with Dick and Jane. Okay, so time to look at the news.
Yeah, before we go on to news, obviously that last piece mentions various films, and it mentioned Fun with Dick and Jane.
Yeah.
Did you come to watch Fun with Dick and Jane with me? Years ago.
I do remember going to see Fun with Dick and Jane with somebody, but I can't remember it being you. But was that you then, possibly?
I think so, yeah. I think I organised us to go to the cinemas like on a Tuesday night. This was, well, it was when Fun with Dick and Jane, so I think it must have been probably about 2005, something like that. So we'll maybe able to find out when the remake of that was made. And we want to go and watch A Cock and Bull Story with Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan.
Yeah.
And I checked the previous week's film listings, found out it was meant to be on. This is days obviously before the internet, all that sort of stuff where you had all this information at your fingertips. I'd looked in the newspaper, got completely confused as to when the listings were, and turned up to watch the wrong films. We ended up watching Fun with Dick and Jane instead. Interesting that both films basically contained a slang word for a penis. Is slightly strange, but there we go.
Anyway, the news then, Fisher.
The news. What's been happening? Well, we've had a bit of a mixed message, haven't we, from the government? But we'll move on from that, I suppose, because we're trying to get back to normal. You can play golf, for example. You can play tennis. They're thinking about being back playing football. If you've seen that, I had seen that the manager of Watford, who is Nigel Pearson, is Watford manager. You might have to jump in and help me out here because I'm trying to talk about
former Sheffield Wednesday manager.
Former Sheffield Wednesday manager, Nigel Pearson, yes.
Well, not manager, sorry, former Sheffield Wednesday player, but he also managed Leicester and various other teams, hasn't he, Nigel Pearson? Yeah,
well, I suppose it's an amazing Kickstarter for Leicester City's success, isn't it? Because Claudio Ranieri came in because basically Nigel Pearson gets sacked after his son was involved in a sex video in Thailand or something like that. And it was of great offence to the owner. So, funnily enough, Nigel Pearson disappeared and Claudio Ranieri came in. But there we go. But yeah, Nigel Pearson was talking about the potential restart of Premier League football. He said the death toll in the UK is anything between 33,000 and 38,000. That's filling our stadium and then filling it half again. It's a very sobering thought. Although the other way of looking at it is maybe Watford should just get a slightly bigger stadium and then wouldn't quite seem as bad in terms of statistics. If you're a Man United fan, you'd be thinking it's only filling 2/3 of our stadium, so it's not really that big a thing, is it?
Well, this is a good point maybe to mention the Bundesliga, isn't it? Because the Bundesliga's back. And
yes.
they are the first proper country, really, or the first big sort of recognised football leagues to start going again, aren't they, basically? But they've been
Jimbo,
playing...
I would never refer to Germany as a proper country. But,
but you know what I mean? Like they are,
yeah.
and they've got but they're all behind closed doors, aren't they? But they've been doing it. We mentioned this a couple of weeks ago because Taiwan had done this for some of their sports, not football, but for some of their sports, having cardboard cutout fans as replacements. Yeah. I don't know if they kind of got cardboard cutouts of actual fans, so they could feel like they were part of it in some way, which is kind of a nice idea. But I'm not sure, Fisher. What do you think about having cardboard cutout fans?
Well, most of our listeners are cardboard cutouts, I think, aren't they? And we make fake reviews up on their behalf. But
well, do you want to ask a couple of them about that? I mean, what do you think? Do you think we need to ask our listeners about? Hello, we've got a couple of listeners here. What do you think about cardboard cutout fans? They've got the dog as well.
How long have you listened to the Waste of Web Space podcast? By the way, I can't be able to notice that dog is almost as big as the lady there, so that's a very big dog.
I'm not exactly sure why either that, we've got a child who listens in as well. But does it help you get to sleep, does it? Yeah, it helps him nap. So, there we go.
Very good. I had heard you could buy your own cardboard cutout and put it in the stadium, couldn't you?
Yeah.
About 20 quid.
Yeah, should we have our own and put wear Waste of Web Space t-shirts? We just have to convert all this podcast to German then, though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably not the most strategic marketing play ever. But it's something to think about, certainly. 20 quid, we could maybe do it.
Yeah.
We get to watch decent quality football, even though we're not actually there.
Yeah.
I'd be intrigued to try and find out how many people have done it. But obviously, that's been one story. What else has been going on? Did you see Jeremy Corbyn's brother was arrested?
Mm.
What do you have to think about that?
Well, he was one of the people who were doing the protests, weren't there, about lockdown and
5G.
Oh, was it about 5G in particular as well?
Well, no. It was a protest against lockdown, but also that some of the conspiracy theory is that lockdown is just a way to control people so they can roll out 5G.
Right. And what was that? Was that any of the reason why Corbyn's brother was arrested, or was that just more about being told what to do and all that kind of thing?
I think a bit of both. I think he was speaking about 5G and the dangers of it. I was quite interested that a lot of the police who arrested him didn't seem to be wearing any form of riot gear or PPE or anything like that. It were just normal police officers who there were quite a few around him, went in and took him away.
But there was some people at the protest wearing masks still, weren't there?
Yes, yeah, of course there were, because they can't really give a coherent message as to what was happening. I don't think I can get hold of it, but there was a very amusing sign where one person had written his sign, and then he went down onto the next line at the end of it, and it made a real mess.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where he needs to do it twice. I'll see if we can dig it out for next episode.
No, I remember that. Yeah, I remember the sign. It was a bit of a mess, weren't it? So, do you think there is any, I don't believe that the whole COVID-19 thing is caused by 5G or it's any sort of distraction for putting it up, but there is some potential argument that 5G could be a danger in some way, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's only been discredited by pretty much every scientist in the world. So, but nonetheless, Eamon Holmes thinks it might still happen.
Right, okay. I didn't know that myself. So every scientist has said, "Oh no, it's absolutely fine. There are no health risks."
Pretty well. I'm not sure they've quite said it that directly, but I think they've said there are no known dangers between 5G and kind of causing a virus.
Okay.
I suppose the same with everything else. You need to test things before you bring it out and sort of put it out to the public. But I don't see any reason why that would be more dangerous than 4G. Whether it just be that the illness or whatever it would get there faster than if it was with 4G, I don't know.
Yeah.
Surely if you're struggling, no concern, then you just go and live next to the side of a hill, and then you'll be fine, won't you? That's the way it normally works.
So a couple of things. It should have been Eurovision this week at the weekend just passed. So it got cancelled, but I was kind of thinking like, well, couldn't what Eurovision been one thing that they could have actually done? You know, like, you know, they argue that, you know, the quality of the music could be affected by having to do it over online. Now, it's not going to really change much.
I thought so. I mean...
And then too, they go around the other countries anyway at a sort of, and they have that slight delay anyway, don't they? Which is all part of Eurovision, and you know when they're giving the scores out and so on. So it seems to be one of those things that they could have just got carried on with. You know, I know there wouldn't have been no fans there, but you know they could have just maybe have some cardboard cut out fans or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Borrow from the Bundesliga. I miss Terry Wogan doing his commentary on. So once again, Croatia voting for Serbia. Who'd have thought? That was a real classic when Terry Wogan used to do it.
They could have just streamed their music videos to everybody instead, because they all make music videos for all their songs. So they could have done that, and then countries could have via the live webcams or you know whatever they've got set up, the web streaming. They could have just give the points that way.
Well, I think you might be a bit annoyed, to be fair, if you had the chance to represent your country in Eurovision to be on a stage in front of thousands of people, and you just end up sat in your underpants at home watching it on the TV and your YouTube video.
But are the same people going to be doing it next year, though, is what we're saying? Do you know what I mean?
I'm actually that sad that I watched the programme on Saturday night, and I've got quite a firm understanding of the rules in terms of Eurovision. And actually, this might make quite a decent quiz one day, but some things to note about Eurovision is that anyone next year cannot sing the same song that they were due to sing this year. Now, some countries have already said that the person who was due to represent them this year will represent them next year, but they will have to sing something different.
Right, okay.
Also, you can only have 6 people on stage during your Eurovision performance. So you can't have anything, but you can't have like a choir singing or anything like that. You can have a choir for 6 people, but nothing else other than just 6 people on stage at any one time. And apparently, do you remember Gina G?
Yeah. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I just remember a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Go on. Play the cymbal. Yeah.
There you go.
Well, it's interesting you made that noise actually, because when Gina G was performing, any musical instrument that kind of provided the final output on the song had to be on the stage as well.
Ooh, just a little bit. Ooh, a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the one, Jimbo. Thank you. For anyone purely listening to the podcast, Jimbo put his wig on.
She was ginger, weren't she? Was she not?
Was that, sorry?
Was she ginger?
I don't know. I think she got sort of blonde or brown or auburn hair, but I'm not too sure.
I always get mixed up with Gina G and Wigfield.
Ah, right, okay. Well, Eurovision is normally on Saturday night, isn't it?
Yeah, true. There you go.
But because they need to have any instruments that are part of the song on the stage, there were some parts of her song that were sort of computerized and been made effective by a computer. So when she was singing on the stage, there were a couple of computers that were on the stage instead of instruments.
All right, well. So, if that helped to get around the rules, then is that what you're saying? It's
just to comply with the rules, because there were some computerized parts in the song. They had to bring a computer on the stage and put it there.
I never realised that just a little bit was a Eurovision entry either. I mean, it sounds like one now I think about it, but I never realised that it was. I never realised it was. So yeah, there you go. So do you want to talk about onto something else then?
I don't know what else has happened. To talk about the man from Nottinghamshire who was going to be arrested by police. Now you know I discussed this with you earlier on today, didn't Jimbo? They were trying to arrest a man in Nottinghamshire. They couldn't quite find where he was, and then they heard him fart, and that gave away his location. And the police swept in, said, "Oh, hang on."
It's bad when your bowels get you arrested, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think he was arrested for farting. Yeah, it wasn't that bad a smell. But whatever it was that he'd done, put him in handcuffs and took him away. So that's my highlight of the week's news. That, and also that in America there is a strip club that is operating a drive-through service.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure. Probably not very sexy, is it? Sort of seeing a stripper wearing PPE.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they are offering that kind of service.
But if they're serving you takeaway food, then that sounds very good. Yeah. Is it that kind of drive-through?
Well, I don't know. Well, it's a strippers club, so it's a slight thing. You did hear the bit at the start where I said it was a strip club that's doing PP, that's doing drive-through
I heard
service.
drive-through, so I thought, maybe there's food involved. I don't know. But anyway.
Right. No, so yeah, it's a strip club that is doing some kind of drive-through service.
Just want to finish about something in Sheffield. So a funeral director in Sheffield has been struck off by the actual, the accredited, recognised professional body of funeral directors. Is that right? So... Michael Fogg, they are called, Sheffield funeral directors. Yeah, it was announced early this week. Apparently, it happened a bit longer ago though, and they've been struck off. Apparently, haven't they?
I think so. But given that we might be liable, I'll let you talk about it.
Well, no, I'm just saying it was sort of, there was a statement put out by the sort of funeral directors association or whatever they're called. And they sort of pointed fingers towards their use of social media and how they've been sort of using social media and some of the comments that they've made and things like that. And I went to have a look because my granddad is a former undertaker, and he's always had pretty good words about Michael Fogg and the services that they offer, because I think they offer a good, reasonable price and all those kind of things. By the way, I'm not trying to flog any funerals here, by the way. But yeah, he's always had good comments about them. So when I saw this story, I was quite surprised. But apparently it's over their use of social media. And as I looked at one of their pages, or of the particular person in question, the director themselves, funeral director himself, they had posted something which was a picture of a Grim Reaper, and it was over the top of lots of people in a park, not social distancing, saying it's up to you sort of thing. Which I think I think it's not necessarily a bad message to get across at the time that people should have been following those messages and stuff. And I don't know whether that if people have just kind of some people have got on the back a bit because they use social media in a more, because they're a funeral directors, it's not something really social media that funeral directors take part in, is it? Social media engagement, I suppose, generally.
Not normally, but it's a terrible bit of advertising from anyway, because surely you want to be telling people to get outside and and mingle and try and pick up. I think we had the conversation last week about the funeral directors that said thank you very much NHS. That kind of felt a bit wrong.
But then looking into it, there are various other things as well that have allegedly been going on, but those are the kind of things we don't want to discuss because that wasn't part of any official statement from any of the funeral organisation associations or whatever it were. But that
should we not just lead into the story they actually want to talk about?
Yeah, the Undertaker.
Which is Undertaker. There we go. What a long way to get around it.
Yeah, the Undertaker. He signed a 15-year deal with WWE at the age of 55 years old. So
he's 70 years old when that finishes.
Yeah,
he's 70 years old and still professionally wrestling.
Well, I mean, he's younger. He's only slightly younger than my dad, but I can't imagine my dad doing any professional wrestling. He's been around for years.
What's he doing now?
What's my dad doing? Oh, he's an Undertaker. No, I'm only joking. No, he's working at Halfords. Still going strong. But anyway, yeah. So, did you used to watch WWE back in the day?
Not really. Only bits and bobs, but I wasn't a massive fan. It was brothers with Kane?
Yeah. Well, in the story, he was. It's obviously not real, but yeah. But yeah, the Undertaker. He's going to be still wrestling at 70, unless that means he's just going to be like in the background doing like management stuff like they sometimes do. Who knows? I think he's retired about 15 times. So anyway. Anyway.
So, is he? It was a joke you're trying to get to that if he's not careful, he might need an Undertaker. Is that what you're sort of trying to say? There, he's 70 years old.
That's what I was trying to work towards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so shall we move on to your little feature?
Yeah, which is probably actually not a million miles away from WWE wrestling to some degree.
I'm ready for it, Fish.
Okay. Now, as you may be aware, I'm doing a bit of work. As you may be aware, well, you will be aware of it because it happened to you. But you were contacted by someone from the Gladiators.
Yes, I was tweeted. I was tweeted by one of the former Gladiators. We mentioned it a few weeks back, didn't we? Yeah,
and I don't know if I said at the time. It might make quite an interesting quiz to find out what some of the Gladiators have been up to. Now, which Gladiator was it who contacted you?
It was Vogue.
Oh,
So just a bit of background on this. I filmed a video of my daughter doing an assault course in the garden to the Gladiators theme tune, and I put it online, sent it to my daughter's little football club that she's in, and they shared it, and I think, Vogue eventually somehow picked up on it and shared it as well, and or made a comment on it. So, yeah, there you go.
Well done. As I say, I've got some questions about Gladiators. It's kind of what they're up to now, what did they do during the fame, what did they do before they were famous. Question 1. Which gladiator is originally from Essex, previously worked as a personal trainer, and now runs their own gym? Is it none of them, or bloody all of them, which made this quiz almost impossible to compile? Obviously, no, that's not a question, obviously, but it was amazing the amount of them that said, now run their own gym, or previously worked as a personal trainer. So, Vulcan, who was played by John Seru, what happened with him? Did he buy a house in London next door to a young Daniel Craig, and was once involved in a dispute regarding a tree overhanging from his garden into Daniel Craig's garden? Or is it that he played a villain's henchman in the Pierce Brosnan James Bond film The World Is Not Enough?
Well, they could have sorted it out over a duel, couldn't they? If they'd got some of the old Gladiator gear, they could have both stood on like some plant pots in the back garden, Daniel Craig and Vulcan, and had one of those battles. Yeah, got John Anderson round to referee. Yeah.
Oh.
What's the matter?
I've got a joke we should have done next week sorted.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, no, I was gonna start off this by saying, Fisher, you will go on my first whistle. Jimbo, you will go on my second whistle, and then blow the whistle to. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. Oh, man, I was the joy I had at sort of thinking that up earlier on today. I've got a lucky whistle downstairs.
So you've gone for 2 James Bond related ones. I reckon that I don't think young Daniel Craig. You could have had obviously a far smaller house. I don't think a gladiator back then would have been paid exactly what the high wages that actors and so on are paid these days. That said, it was a huge TV show at the time, wasn't it? It was, So I want to go with. I'm going to go with the one that he was starred in the Pierce Brosnan Bond film.
Yep, he did. He played a villain's henchman. So, Jet from Gladiators, Diane Udale, or Udall, I'm not quite sure how I pronounce her name. Probably one of the better known gladiators, Jet from Gladiators.
Alan Partridge is quite a fan of Jet from Gladiators, isn't he?
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Jet from Gladiators to present a Millennium Barn Dance at the Yeovil Aerodrome or wherever it was. Which well-known film actor did Jet upset? Was it a 10-year-old Robert Pattinson when she failed to turn up for a dog beauty show that he was competing in? Or was it a 9-year-old Daniel Radcliffe when she didn't have the time to sign an autograph for him when he saw her in a supermarket? Well, let's be honest. I think everyone was a fan of Jet and Gladiators in the days, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh, it was between Jet and Lightning, weren't it? So, I mean, Robert Pattinson, is he English? I think he's American, isn't he? Is he not?
I think he's English, isn't he?
Is he?
I think he's in the Harry Potter films, isn't he? Doesn't he play
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right, actually. You are correct, yeah. So,
Go on, play the noise, then play the noise, because I got it right. Oh, sorry, no, it's not being tested, is it?
This is tough. I'm going to go... Let's go Robert Pattinson then, because I was immediately drawn to the other one, the Daniel Radcliffe one, but I think I'm going to go for Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, and you will be correct. Well done.
I'm going for full marks today.
Go on, let's see how you can do.
Have either of us ever got full marks? Don't think we have we?
Nah, I wouldn't have thought so. We do well if we get more than half marks. Even though by law of averages, that's what we should get every time at least. So, Wayne Furman, who played Ace in Gladiators, what did he do in the late 90s? Was he engaged to Katie Price, or Jordan, as she was known at the time? Or was he imprisoned in Jordan for fraud involving their national telecoms company? So what is his connection to Jordan?
Is
Is it the country or the massive tits? Effectively.
That rings.
Was he one of the millions of people who've been engaged to Katie Price at some point?
I seem to think I've heard that before with Katie Price. I don't know why, but the name Mark Furman, did you say?
Well, his name's Warren Furman, but other
Warren.
than that...
All right, maybe not then.
Yeah. To be fair, Mark Furman could be another one she went out with, who knows?
My instinct, I'm going to go against my instinct this time. My instinct says go for the Katie Price one, but I think it's going to be the other one in Jordan, in the actual country. The fraud, was it?
Fraud involving a telecoms company. Well, you should trust your instincts because he was engaged to Katie Price.
Oh. It's ruined the dream of 4 marks.
Mark Smith, who played Rhino, has a new profession. What is it? Is he a personal trainer? No.
Does he train rhinos?
He does not. He does not. Although he may have delivered one. Is he an actor and he has appeared in an Oscar-winning film? Or is he working as an Amazon delivery driver as of July 2018? We know this because someone tweeted him to say that their Amazon delivery driver looked a lot like him, and he responded saying, "I know, it was me."
So what was the first one again?
He's a film actor, and he's appeared in an Oscar-winning film.
But now he could be. You're saying the other option is an Amazon delivery driver.
Yeah, a bit of a difference between the two, but still contribute to the economy. Is he still doing his
it's important work at the minute, isn't it? It's important work all the time. We recognise that more than we ever did before. So I'm gonna say the Amazon one because he got a tweet and then they recognised him and he said, "Yeah, that was me."
Yeah, you'd be wrong. He's not sort of a massively popular actor. He has appeared in some of the Pirates of the Caribbean films, and he's also been in the Ben Affleck film Argo, which won an Oscar. I think won an Oscar for Best Picture. Quite a good film, actually.
I will look out. I've been thinking about watching the Pirates of the Caribbean films back, actually, because I do like them. So I've been thinking about watching that back. So I'll look out for him.
Yeah. So Nikki Diamond, who played Scorpio on Gladiators, why did she have to pull out after 3 series? Was it that she injured her back whilst appearing in pantomime, or she fell off a ladder whilst clearing out a gutter and injured herself? Now, this obviously could be in your earlier quiz of sports stars injuries, couldn't it?
It could have been. And I don't know why I seem to maybe have heard of this one as well, but again, I could just be making it up. I don't know. So I think that she fell off a ladder.
No, unfortunately, she injured her back.
I'm terribly wrong.
Injured her back in pantomime. I don't know what part she was playing.
So all of that stuff that they do in Gladiators, but yeah, she injured her back doing a pantomime.
Yeah, I mean, it can be difficult when you're out of your comfort zone, can't it? If you're not doing Hang Tough or go on, what else was there?
Duel. There was what was the assault course one called?
At the end of it.
No, that was the main one. That was called the Eliminator. But there was
Gauntlet.
Gauntlet, that was the one. There was the one where they was in the balls, in the big giant balls.
Oh yeah.
And then
I can't remember what that was called.
There was the one on the rings. There was also they were great games.
Yeah. Have you ever done anything like that? Have you ever been sort of or done any like Ninja Warrior type things or anything along those lines?
Nah, I'm definitely going to injure myself if I do anything like that.
Yeah. To be fair, I once went trampolining, and that's how I sort of broke my finger, which actually could be a good...
You once went on a giant inflatable snowman in Rotherham Town Centre.
Yeah, it was boiling hot inside there, which is ironic because we're inside a snowman. But
and we mentioned that last week as well.
We did. So, Michael Wilson, who played Cobra in Gladiators, what does he list as one of his hobbies? Is it collecting commemorative plates, or is it painting watercolours?
It's going to have to be a guess.
Well, I'd be impressed if you actually knew it.
Well,
if you spoke to him personally or you just happened to know.
I'm hoping a question does come up because I do know something about one of the Gladiators, and it's not come up yet, but I'm hoping it does. For this one,
do you want to? Go on, sorry.
For this one, I'm going to guess that it's the plates. He collects commemorative plates.
No, he quite enjoys painting with watercolours.
How am I managing to guess them all wrong?
Go on. What's your interesting fact about a gladiator? Let's see what it's on here.
Have you got any questions about Trojan?
I haven't. No.
So
Actually,
yeah.
I think I know what you might be about to say. So go on.
Trojan. I don't think you were, but Trojan played Action Man in the Action Man series, which I don't know was ever on telly, but it was certainly on video. So they made a version of Action Man for video, and yeah, he played the Action Man.
I think Trojan is another actor who's in Hollywood, and he's been in a fair few sort of these American TV programs, and he was in a program that I watched a couple of weeks ago. Have you ever watched the program NCIS?
No.
There's US sort of Navy cop program. And he was in that, and he shot someone in it, and what have you. And afterwards, when I was doing the research, it turned out it was a former. I remember him being on it because obviously he got the English accent, which means that he said, "Oh, come on, sweetheart," he was asking for it, weren't he? Because that's how every English person speaks according to Hollywood. And it was in that. So yes, I believe it's Trojan, who is a fairly well-known actor. Judy Simpson, who played Nightshade. I did read quite a lot about her that was a total load of rubbish, but which one of these is true and which one isn't? There was a fair amount of stuff that was completely unsourced that I couldn't find to corroborate or anything like that. So, is she a gold medal winning athlete, or does she now run a successful lighting company, which includes a strapline, Nightshade's Light Shades?
Now, I'd love for it to be the second one. I was going to even suggest that as a joke, but you've just done that in your quiz. So I seem to think that I do remember something about, either if not her, one of the gladiators being an Olympian. So I reckon it was Nightshade.
You'll be correct. Well done. There are a few. Sharon Davis, the former swimmer, if you remember her. I think still presents some of the BBC swimming programmes. She was a gladiator, as was a...
What was her gladiator name?
Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head. So feel free to try and make one up.
Okay.
And also Dwayne Ledejo, who I think was a former 400-metre runner and decathlete. He also ended up being a gladiator towards the end at one point as well. So a few people actually achieved a little bit of fame beforehand, who then went on to become gladiators. So possibly the best known gladiator.
There was an occasion where I think one of the winners of the gladiators, as a contestant, became a gladiator for the following series, I think.
Well, let's get to that, shall we?
All right, here we go.
So probably who would you say is the best known gladiator?
Well, either Lightning, or Hunter, possibly, was quite popular at the time. But I would say that my favourite when I was a kid was Warrior. He had a bit of an Arnold Schwarzenegger thing about him. He was a really big bloke. So I would have said as a favourite it would have been Warrior. But I think and obviously my favourite was really Lightning as well, not Warrior. You know. But out of the male gladiators, my favourite was Warrior. But yeah, I think Hunter was quite popular at the time. Oh no! I've missed one. Wolf. He was the famous one. I forgot all about him.
Okay. And now to confirm, I haven't in any way, to the best of my knowledge, given you any sort of clues or sort of suggested. You've said Wolf, you're going back. The next one is about Wolf. What are the chances? Where did he get his name from? His real name is Michael Van Wyck, I think his name is. So obviously gladiator name, Wolf. Where did he get his name from? Is it that he's a massive fan of Wolverhampton Wanderers and insisted on the name Wolf and nearly left the show before it started as producers wanted to call him Beast? Or is it he unsuccessfully auditioned to be in the Kevin Costner film Dances with Wolves? He then adopted the persona of a wolf.
I'm trying to remember I even had a wolf T-shirt, as a kid.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you like the baddie then? Because surely people disliked him.
Yeah, they did, but he was the pantomime villain, weren't he?
A bit of a figure of fun.
But did he played up to it? Would he in real life have been a bit of a diva as well? With his football team and wanting to have that name because of his. And it was filmed in Birmingham. So that's not far from the area of the football club, I suppose.
Is it the NEC it was filmed at?
Yeah, but indoor arena here in Birmingham. Don't you remember Eureka Johnson saying that every week? Yeah. But I think this is tough. I think it's the first one. I think he was a Wolves fan, and I think he got a bit of a strop on.
No, it was actually he auditioned for Kevin Costner.
I should have thought to myself, you couldn't have possibly made the other one up, but you have made some good reasons up before.
Yeah, it was. He auditioned for Dances with Wolves unsuccessfully, and then sort of took on the persona of like a character of a wolf almost. So Warrior, who was one of your favourites, looked a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger, as he said. Can you remember his real name?
John Thompson.
No, that is not even remotely correct. His name is Michael Ahern, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
What happened to him? Is it that he's now a professional music director and has been involved in doing the musical score on a number of BBC programmes, including Planet Earth 2? Or did he end up in prison after passing money to a policeman on behalf of a man charged with attempted murder?
Right.
Two slightly different events there, obviously.
Very different. Okay, I think he used to walk. I think his song that he used to walk out to was "You Ain't Seen Nothing Yet" by the Backman Overdrive. I remember his walkout song. That's how much of a fan I were. He was particularly very good at the Gauntlet game. That was, I think, his best one. He was good at. But anyway, let's. I hope he weren't a bad guy, but so in that case, I'm going to go for the one that he's a musical director on BBC. I just can't see it, but I hope it's the good one out of the two.
Well, it says a lot about the kind of person you are, really, doesn't it? Unfortunately, you are wrong, and he was.
That's disappointing. Never meet your heroes. I mean, fortunately,
never meet your heroes. So yeah, obviously, quite a sad story that he was involved in there. Now, the final question is Eunice Huthart. Eunice Huthart, maybe? She was invited back to the show as a gladiator Blaze, and she was formerly a contestant. And I believe the only contestant they ever had who went on to become a gladiator. What is her celebrity connection? Is it she works as a sports nutritionist? She is formerly of Chelsea Football Club, and she's married to former Chelsea player Damien Duff. Or she works as a stunt double in Hollywood, often covering for Angelina Jolie, and she is the godmother to one of her kids.
Oh, right, okay. Again, for you to have made one of those up is quite a skill. I'm gonna go Damien, that she's married to Damien Duff, and she was a sports nutritionist for Chelsea.
No, she is actually a Hollywood stunt double.
I've definitely managed to guess most of these incorrect again, haven't I?
It's all right, don't worry. I was doing it. I did the same thing last week, so I'm not going to cast any stones there. The more important news, though, is that Sharon Davis played Amazon in Gladiators. But I think more important than that is that David James had 572 Premier League appearances and Mark Schwarzer only 514.
Well, this came up in the quiz the other day, and so you're saying that you were correct and not me?
Yes, sounds fairly plausible. Yeah.
Are we saying Premiership, or are we saying league, including Division League when it was called League Division 1? This is the key, because I don't.
Well, no. When I said Premier League appearances, what I meant was Premier League, not when it was called something else.
I think that needs double checking, because this came up in a quiz, I'm sure, and I'm sure I got the right answer when I gave Mark Schwarzer. But anyway, that is one for next week. We'll put that in our issues to clear up from next week. And if anyone wants to get in touch and put either Fisher or me right, or tell us we're wrong, I know you're saying you looked it up, but I'm not convinced about that.
Issues to clear up. I've got it here in front of me. It says it on the internet, so it must be true. David James, 572 games. Mark Schwarzer, 514. David James, 169 clean sheets. Mark Schwarzer, 151. He's got details of the clubs that he's played for. So yeah, that's about it really.
Anyway, still disputing that. I'm going to take it to the Regulatory Commission. Yeah, I did enjoy that. It was very good. It's nice to... I feel like I should get Challenge TV on and watch some old episodes of Gladiators, I think.
I didn't realise it was still on there. But yeah,
well, I think it is. I remember seeing it before, but I'm sure you can find them online and so on, can't you? But no, I really enjoyed that. So thank you very much for listening to us today. Of course, you can get in touch, and we will give you a shout-out, as we proved at the start of the show. We will give people a shout-out when they get in touch with us or link to our pages or whatever. So you can follow us on Twitter, @WasteOfWebSpace, same on Facebook, wasteofwebspace.co.uk. We've also got an Instagram account now as well that we post our pictures on and everything. Yep. Anything to add, or are we all good to go?
No, obviously we probably want to say and make it quite clear that if we have to become quite popular, then we'll stop giving shout-outs to people because we'll not have the chance to get in touch and say exactly specifically who people are. But for now, we're that unpopular that we can still individually name some of our listeners.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.